Hey, I wanted to ask you this because we in our minds we've based a lot of this program um, stylistically on Dead Man.
Yeah.
You watched the movie, right? Stylistically, Dead Man is of course Zan's favorite film, and it's a journey about a very fearful, slightly self-protecting guy. He had a little bit of arrogance to him, but only to shield just how afraid he was. And he goes from civilization, goes to the Wild West, where he, is basically with the cowboys until he gets run out of town because of double accidental murder, and then he gets tracked down in the desert, right? So he effectively goes on the Vision Quest. Like the movie is a Vision Quest, and nobody, the indigenous Indian guy who finds him on his horse, it becomes his kind of spiritual guide and shows him the way of how it is to be in the land and just kind of live off your wits, but also live from synchronicity in nature. So we choose this movie as the style of the advanced program because it's like you want to integrate your masculine edge. We see two big parts of that. One is your cowboy, your gunslinger, the rough guy. Like, can you go to these fucking shit places and hold your own? Like, are your feet solid in that ground? And are you kind of unshakable even in the nastiness of life? That's one side. But the other side is to get us in touch with a more golden shadow, the spiritual wisdom and essence we have inside of us that most of us guys is unexplored still. But that's a little bit of storytelling background. What I wanted to get to is he spends 4 days and 4 nights with nobody going through the wilderness until he reaches his moment of transcendence. And you see nobody takes peyote because he will do that, and he would pray for his own vision to do with his own life. But William Blake, Johnny Depp's character, as the days go by, you see him doesn't eat any food. He slowly starts to slip into different altered states. And as he goes into these different altered states, he integrates parts of himself. He kills a few men and becomes fearless, or they ransack a camp one night, and he develops a power to fend for himself even in the midst of uncertainty, and he becomes a badass, right? In the end of it, he fully embraces his fears, and he is a badass. Cool. I'm curious in your experience after the second day, the third day, because we're fasting, right? There's no food involved. We go into a different. Is it like we go into a different state of consciousness as the days unfold until we reach, a place where shit, I'm really different to who I was a few days ago when I came into this whole adventure. Like, this is the piece that intrigues me that I want to really hear about.
Sorry, I'm just being a little bit distracted here because my dog really wants my attention. Maybe he's like, he would like to have a stay with it, but
right.
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
Maybe Enzo will go walkies up on the mountain and meet some of us, or he'll be the raccoon in the night.
Definitely, he's like the shamanic dog coming to give you some insight.
Literally, after 3 days, he'll look at you in the eye and whisper words. Your purpose is Doctors Without Borders. And you shall go to Vietnam. Huh?
He's very wise and he has his ways. Remember, like, actually, he's very sensitive. When we also the Temescal ceremony that you participated in, Enzo was there with us the entire time, laying on the outside at the back. So yeah, I could definitely see that happening. Well, he'll bring some healing and insight to some people. Um, he is actually the one that showed me unconditional love. It's really special. Really, when Enzo came into my life, I really started to open my heart and understanding unconditional love. And I think that's really helped me also in the relationship that I am in. But to get back to the Vision Quest, um, sorry, question again?
Yeah. So you remember how Johnny Depp, after 2 or 3 days, he really started to go into some trippy states and
Oh yeah,
answers and integrations. Like, does that reflect what it's been like for you after 2 or 3 days up on the mountain? Like,
yeah, definitely. Because what happens within a fasted state, if you do not get any nutritions for a certain amount of time, and especially glucose, your body goes into ketosis, which is the state wherein you burn fat instead of glucose for your main fuel. And so fasting brings a lot of physiological changes within your body. It alters your immune system. It alters certain physiological processes within your body that make you more alert and more aware. It's like your brain fog is cleared, which helps you, to have clearer thoughts, to be more calm, to not have all that chatter that you normally have. Also because you're fasting and you're being taken away from your daily patterns, your daily tasks. So this really helps you to become more focused and more clear. And I mean, it's not for nothing that in all the religions, actually, I think all the religions in the world, they have some type of fasting, some type of abstinence from food, because it really helps you to cross a certain frontier in terms of sensitivity and connectedness. And so it's definitely the fasting is a big part of the Vision Quest, helping you to reach a different state, to reach an altered state of consciousness. And this is actually, it's been researched. So this is something that's really physical that happens, that change within your body to allow you to have different experiences, to be more sensitive. It changes your brain waves as well. Like it goes from what is it, the beta to the alpha, where the state when you're in deep meditation. This happens naturally when you're fasting on water. And so yeah, this is definitely helping you to have the insights and the visions and that feeling of oneness.
Yeah, it's not just some kind of freak of nature that you go out and nature entrances you somehow, but there's a whole science and biology behind what happens to the way that you burn food or fat in your body and the brainwaves that it puts you into because of the whole process. That's interesting.
And that's something that I'm adding within this program that so far I have not seen other people do, is to have really a thorough preparation in sense of detoxing, where you really, preferably, let's say 8 weeks in advance, you start changing your diet gradually. It will completely help you with this, with motivation, inspiration, facts, and how to do this. But that's already start changing your body. Your body starts to adapt to the state of ketosis. So one, you start detoxing, which really helps you on the Vision Quest, that you will not have all the withdrawal symptoms of food, like banging headaches and being nauseous and all this. So in that sense, it already helps because your body starts to learn to go into ketosis faster. So you actually go into that higher state of consciousness. You'll go into that faster than you would if you do not prepare as thoroughly as I'm teaching people. And so but also the detoxing already helps you within your process, because all these emotions start coming up and situations will appear that bring up your fears and your patterns. But because of the detox, it actually changes your brain, and it helps your brain to process emotions in a different way. And this has to do with the connection between your gut and your brain. Within that connection, in your gut, all of your serotonin, for example, is being produced and used. So if this functions properly, this aids your brain in becoming more healthy, more resilient, and especially that part of your brain that processes your emotions. So this will actually help you to see things from a different perspective. And this is really amazing to feel that shift. So the whole program is designed in such a way that it's a tough process. It's a hero's journey, so that cannot go without ups and downs and enduring some hardship. But we're guiding you properly to make the most out of this process, so you can kind of ride the roller coaster, with more strength and clarity, I guess.
Let me get this really, really straight. So we start our online mastermind, like the coaching section of this, about 5 months before we actually go on the Vision Quest. So we've got 5 months of content, like the Ars Amorata advanced exploration into our own, dark natures as men and our own mystique in relation to women. But you're saying, like, your particular part of purification for the Vision Quest starts about 2 months before we meet live. And slowly, like bit by bit, you recommend, first of all, some subtle changes to diet and lifestyle, and then you get a little bit more rigorous with it.
More strict along the way. I mean, it is also depends. It really depends on every person's process of what they need. Some people might need to be super strict from the first moment they start with the diet because they feel that. And I think it's really important to teach people to recognize what they need. So really tuning in with yourself, with your process, your intentions, and what kind of like guidance is necessary for you to reach what you want to reach. So for some people, they might need a little more flexibility. Also, like within your lifestyle, of course, like if you have a really demanding job, but you still really want to do the whole process, it might be difficult to go on a super strict diet. So there you can give yourself, a little more flexibility and just say, okay, I'll do it when I can or within the weekend. Or so we can also alter. We can also talk about this with people, what they need. But preferably starting 8 weeks in advance, but this can also be longer. Like if there's more time, the longer you can do this, the better, because it takes your body, I think, about 4 weeks to kind of adjust to the state of ketosis, of burning fat instead of glucose. And this is what you're teaching your body, because your body's not used to this anymore. It's really our ancestors' diet of feast and famine, where we sometimes wouldn't eat for days because it just wasn't there, because we would need to hunt it ourselves or we would need to grow it ourselves. And when it was there, we would feast because there was so much, and then you eat just to fill you up completely and gain some fat again for those times when it's not there. So naturally, our body recognizes this, but you kind of need to reintroduce it. So we'll kind of go through that process of gradually going there.
So just kind of bottom lining two different things. One is that, first of all, this is not just some kind of retreat to come to have a wild, crazy experience and then get on the beer with your buddies and have a bit of a lads celebration abroad. Like, this is a full-on detoxification and purification of the body, and therefore with it the mind, spirit, to have like really an intense transformative experience. So that's like one thing to really bottom line. Like, this is
Yeah,
It's not a holiday. It's kind of a once in a lifetime, full on thing.
it's like a complete detox for your entire system. But in that sense, you're also upgrading yourself on all levels. So, physically, but also emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, which I think is very unique to have a process where you can balance those four, and that also comes back within the teachings of um, the um, the medicine wheel. And so it's like, the four quadrants of life, also the four elements, the four seasons. And this is also something we will teach people, how all of those need to be in balance so we can grow steady, and we can really be rooted, and live from that full self, where everything is in tune with each other. And I'm kind of like losing my story a little bit here. Um, but yeah, having that opportunity of going through the process of balancing, detoxing those four phases or four quadrants of our life, I think is really amazing. And it's joyful as well. It's not only hardship, because yeah, it's a commitment. It's a rough process. It's not easy. Challenging your fears, going out of your comfort zone, being outside on the mountain. Because yeah, it's July. It might be really hot and sunny, but it's also possible that it will rain. It's possible that it's cold at night. Yeah, you might encounter a snake or a boar. But somehow it's like once you go into these extreme ways of going out of your comfort zone, you can also reach higher states of euphoria and of joy and pleasure. So it's not all just hardship. It's something also really beautiful and really mesmerizing to experience all the different emotions and then becoming balanced with it.
And the second thing, like the sneaky bonus that I wanted to bottom line is, if you're training your body to go into ketosis and burn fat, you're not just going to sit on the mountain and have like this amazing experience, get in touch with emptiness, your masculinity, your rite of passage, your purpose. But you'll also lose a few pounds of body fat and come out, much better looking by the end of it as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's also one of the benefits, It's like you upgrade your body from the inside, but also from the outside. Because with this whole program, your organs will start functioning better. You can even, if you really do it properly, you can regenerate your organs. You're boosting your human growth hormone. You're boosting, all kinds of enzymes and other things within your body, like your mitochondrial functioning will be improved. So this makes you look younger and more radiant. And yeah, you probably also definitely will lose some weight, especially if you do exercising within the process. And it's also really important. Yeah, if you come out, it's not like you're going to do your process and then everything's magically changed. You need to have also the commitment to afterwards kind of keep up with the process and implement the vision that you received.
Yeah.
But this, is also with the group support that we have and with the coaching is what
we can
also will be joy.
Yeah. For that to happen. Yeah. It's funny, so many incredible benefits that come from fasting. Zan's been fasting ever since I met him, like 6 years ago. Even at that time, he would go 1 day a week without eating, or maybe 2 days a week without eating. It's funny to see, these threads loop around between you and him, coming from totally different places, but having some real cool things in common.
Yeah, fasting is, I'm a big fan. And also the beautiful thing is, like, for me, a lot of things are coming together now, because also with all my shamanic processes and being in the jungle with indigenous tribes, fasting there is something so common. It's just, yeah, if you want to have a deep process, you fast. And so for me, this became really natural, and I'm really wishing for other people also to have this in your life, because actually it's so easy. It looks like the hardest thing to do, but once you get into it, it becomes easy and joyful, and it really can improve your life in many ways.